So I try really hard not to be this kind of person. But there are a lot of folklore and superstitions around Mayday, Beltane, what have you. For me personally, it's also my mother's birthday, so there's a lot to it. And my mother is, while a very fervent Catholic, one of the most intuitive people in the world. A little bit of an overreactor, but but combine a lot of things and you get the idea that specifically that there are days where intuitive is just seemingly en masse. And for the last 2 days, I have been feeling strange. Way more in the sense of like something is coming than, anything that's like natural or just, my bad habits catching up to me. Which could be the seasons changing, it could be the spirits and the she just being more active now. And I think this has a habit of happening every year, just this time it seems way more ominous. And maybe I'm just misinterpreting and having my own like stress reactions built onto this. And I know, like, especially as an American, there's a lot going on. But I'm just wondering if anyone is getting the same vague feeling today. A request for my divination services, which, if you're interested, you can also request such services here. I have been asked through multiple different systems to divine about all of the feelings that seemingly a lot of people were feeling around Beltane. Basically, I made a video kind of getting the impression that I was getting the energy readings of, hey, something is coming. And a lot of people felt, at least in a similar fashion, even if they interpreted it as being more, yeah, I definitely think something's coming, or I think we're getting a warning that at least something big is coming, regardless of the scope. Leaving the possibility that there was going to be some kind of false flag about a situation that was still going to cause turmoil. So someone trusted me to do basically three pulls for tarot, oracle, and runes on the subject. Obviously, all of my usual disclaimers about divination apply. So first, we're going to be using the Celtic Tarot by Christopher Hughes. Alright, I was doing some shuffling off screen, but just a little more for the camera, as well as trying to get like a clear indication of I'm not editing this video as much as possible. Also got an altar cloth for divination purposes for this kind of thing. The moon. The three of cauldrons. The two of cauldrons. So the moon is a lot about illusions and there being illusions are the precursor to reality. Unjustified imagination and fear. The Three of Cauldrons is about coming together as a community, as represented by, three nude women being unified in both, well, the nakedness as well as what they're doing. Expressing the need to be immersed within just the joys of having friendship and community. The Two of Cauldrons is very much the same thing as the Three of Cauldrons, but more for directly interpersonal relationships, not with a community, but with explicitly another person. Even from the first reading, we're getting the need to be able to see the truth and get really involved within a variety of both interpersonal relationships within other people as well as interpersonal relationships within groups. Being truly unifying and seen as equal, regardless of if these are personal relationships, business relationships. A lot can go on here. All right, so next we are going to be pulling three cards from the Yggdrasil Oracle deck. So again, we're going to be shuffling just for, proof that that's happening and whatnot. Odin, Forseti, Rada. Omniscience, wisdom, poetry, language, fairness and judgment, and the spirit of lightning. Odin often represents being able to see a situation from all angles. Forseti is often seen as more or less the law speaker of the gods. One to settle disputes, and his card being in a spread generally means that, yeah, that's going to need to happen. Generally, the card is definitely there to be able to be like, hey, we need to settle something, but we need to see, the causes of these problems both within and without. Basically, the internal reasons of everyone involved as well as external factors, to be able to settle whatever fairly. Now, Rada is what makes this one interesting. She is an Icelandic figure that is the literal spirit of lightning. A spirit where part of her essence exists both in Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and Surtur's sword. Sudden power that does not take sides. Can represent either like sudden bits of embarrassment or shame, or even sudden inspiration. And such forces for the seeker, basically the people asking the question, this is a force that can be used either with or against the people in general. And oftentimes, especially when represented with the Aesir as she is now, it can mean that there is going to be a very sudden, unexpected event that the seeker is unaware of. So the two readings so far are kinda saying the same thing, just very different aspects of it. Something is coming. It may not be entirely true, whether that is just a lack of information or the overabundance of imagination of something, but the need to come together and be able to go about things fairly, whether that is to individuals or to a group. And now, for the runes. This one fell out of the bag while I was shuffling. Alright, so after this one flew out, these are the two runes that felt especially warm and therefore needed to be picked up. We have Kanaz, the Mind Fire, but it is effectively Merkstave, so we're getting it as something is interrupting the true purpose of everything that your intuition may be telling you. You have Awaz the horse and Tiwaz. Basically, Awaz has a lot to do with movement and all that, but it just as much talks about trust and progress. So very much both the physical sense of movement along with the metaphorical sense of movement. This is obviously a victory rune, however, it also represents things like logic and leadership. So we in general just have a very similar spread of the meaning of these, even across three different methods. Spirits certainly seem to be reiterating the same thing per method. Now, of course, as always, I heavily suggest that even if you trust me, do your own divinations. Because I understand, aside from basically just hitting record and making it one long video of just me doing everything, not a lot of reason to trust me. As much as I'm not the kind of person who would modify readings for the sake of clout, just always do your own divinations as well. But yeah, doing three different methods for the same thing and effectively got a lot of the same answers. Or at least answers that would still definitely fit within the paradigm, because for each reading we basically got something is going to be wrong, but it's not going to be entirely clear what it is, and that illusions may very well be involved, but the different ways to go about seeing through or at least working through those illusions. Ultimately, thank you for paying for this reading. I know a lot of people were at the very least curious, but if nothing else, this was definitely a very interesting experiment to catch on camera.